going on? You are listening to the Questions Hip Hop Podcast. My name is Sean Kantrowitz. Every week on this show, I provide deep discussions, conversations, thought exercises, and just general hip hop rap nerdery surrounding the participants and the practitioners and the fans of hip hop culture and music. This week on the show, it is a Can't Knock the Shuffle classic. Let me explain to you what Can't Knock the Shuffle is if this is your first time listening to this program. On Can't Knock the Shuffle, I take an artist's entire catalog, I throw it into a playlist, and then I allow an algorithm to randomly select songs that I then ask the artist to tell me the stories behind. And this can result in some stories about songs that have never really been discussed before. This episode of Can't Knock the Shuffle was originally published on May 24th, 2021, and it features Slimkid3 from the Pharcyde, also known as Tre Hardson. Tre was on the Questions as well back in 2020. Obviously, he's a legend in the game. The Pharcyde made timeless classics that continue to capture the hearts and the minds and the spirits of hip-hop fans everywhere. And it was really dope to talk to him, not just about songs from the Pharcyde catalog, but also his own solo material, as well as his collaborations with DJ Newmark. I'm such a big fan of the Pharcyde, and I don't think we're going to have to be waiting too much longer. I have some intel and sources tell me that we are going to be getting some new Pharcyde music very soon, so be on the lookout for that. Before we get into it, I want to give a big shout out to the Questions Patreon. If you want to support this show for just $5 a month, you can join the Patreon by hitting the link in the episode notes or going to patreon.com/thequestionshiphop. Not only do you help me produce this podcast, but you also get access to many pieces of bonus material that you can't find anywhere else. I'm talking about exclusive episodes, excerpts from the public episodes that don't live anywhere else, articles, music, videos, pictures. I've been doing DJ mixes recently that tie into some of the public feed episodes. We also have a Patreon exclusive series called Industry Rule number 4080, in which I share some of my interesting stories in my journey and odyssey through the music and entertainment space. We just put up a new episode this past weekend. All of the support that I get from the listeners of the show is greatly appreciated, particularly the Questions crew on Patreon. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. We are going to listen to a classic episode of the Can't Knock the Shuffle series featuring Slimkid3.
Who did it first? Who did it best? Who did it worse? That's the question. Who rapping there? That remix, and what happened when? That's the question.
And let me ask you a question.
And if you ain't knowing these, then my guys knowing what you need. Some answers to the questions.
Slimkid3, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing well. Thanks for having me. You know, this is exciting.
Yeah. All right. I mean, we all need some positivity in 2021.
Absolutely.
We've had a weird start, but I think we can still get it on track. I think we should just hop right into it. Are you ready to?
I'm ready to go.
Song 1.
So the first song that we have randomly selected here from the algorithm is from 1995. It is from the Pharcyde's second full-length Labcabincalifornia, and the song is called Groupie Therapy. I'll play a little clip of it. A lot has been said about the second album, and it was a different experience than the first album, Bizarre Ride to the Pharcyde. But I really always liked this song because I felt like I've never heard a song in any genre about this specific topic told in the way that it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume that this is somewhat based in reality. You guys are like in a huge group and you're touring the world and you're sort of like really tasting that fame. But what sort of drove you guys to dedicate a song to Groupie Therapy? Both of those, words being apt descriptions.
Now, it's really horrible how to me, groupies, I just look at everybody as fans, and I don't really like the word groupie. And usually it's when, they see a girl hanging out with an artist, the other girl's like, oh, look at that groupie. And either you're saying seriously, like, oh, look at that groupie, like, or you're like, I wish I was in her place. You know what I mean? And so therefore it's like, I kind of don't like when, it's been girls or guys too. Like guys been like, yo, all them groupies. It's like, well, is it she's a groupie or you are a guy that likes this girl and wants to date her somehow? You know what I mean? So there needs to be like clarity on that. As an artist, like I don't even have time for that type of shit. So I'm like, I'm chilling with this person and we out. I don't have time to talk. I don't care about negative words or none of that shit. You know what I mean? So the therapy session needs to be on those that cast the eyes in a negative manner about said person. First off, you don't know who the person is. You don't know what she does or who she's connected to. And even if she is a groupie type, you know what I mean? Like, it's like kind of, she's going to take us around the city and show us the city. Like it's a cool person in my book. If the vibe is right and the vibe is there, all right, between folks, we're just having a good time. We're having living life. And there's a lot of, maybe there's a lot of healing that needs to go in that fashion. But some people, there's a lot of groupies too, like that are super, 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 super fans. It's super tragic, super dangerous. Like
Right.
Those are the groupies to me that I'm like, like please let me know that, where the red flags are so I can kind of exit stage right,
Right, because you're really, the dynamic of being on stage, there is like a different dynamic where it's like there's everybody in the room is there to watch the people who are on the stage, and that is almost like a power thing. But if you invert that, you're in the middle of some city where you don't know anybody, and all of a sudden you guys are meeting or interacting with people, and it is kind of vulnerable. Like what you spoke about, like you don't know who they are, you don't know how safe they are or what kind of issues they're bringing into it. So it is kind of like, touring acts are in a way, they're kind of like astronauts, like going through the solar system and just like, oh, let's see what's going on this planet. And
exactly. Like you can insert the Star Trek thing when they beam into the little scene.
Yeah. Like I said, by 1995, the Pharcyde's first album had been really big, and you guys were sort of grappling with, I would assume, like this level of fame, which is kind of like a theme that I noticed comes up in a lot of your work, and we'll kind of explore that more as we go through these other songs to follow. But where was your mindset at by this time in terms of your role as an artist and what you were sort of experiencing and learning from the music industry by the time that you were recording the second album?
There was a lot to it's almost like you ever see like a gazelle being born, and as soon as it hits the ground, it has to get up and run from a pack of lions.
Right.
That's exactly what it was like. We had to get up, we had to learn fast. Like when we were like making our first record and stuff, like, it's all fun. And then, getting on the road and this, that, and the other. And then as you're on, like you dropped onto the road and on into actual rap star life or whatever, it's all kinds of things coming at you all at once, all kinds of people with it could be their merchandise. They want you to wear this, they want you to wear that, and, not pay you for it. Like, just, everybody has their hustle and their way like this. We tend to be an avenue or throughway to people's dreams. You know what I mean? And so that's one side of it. The other side, and that's kind of, if it's not like from a sincere place, it can be, that can create some like, you want more buffer around you or, more thick skin about it and some people are kind of mean and crappy and shitty as artists, turning crappy and shitty towards people. And it's like, man, it's such a thin line. Because some people are actually genuine and cool, and it can be a workable situation. And I'll rock this shirt on stage, whatever. But when we do stuff like that, our fans are like, "Yo, you see that shit? Let's go get that shit." Boom. And then somebody's getting like over. And then you have the industry side of things, like making records, and there's another cutthroat hustle situation. So we're like learning fast. Like looking, like listening slow, learning fast, and assessing and adjusting. So that was happening along the whole way, like every little, and you got to you get hurt, you get punched, and then you got to kind of shake it off quickly, because you still have to walk down your path, and you still have to be a successful person at it. You can't curl up and die. You can't curl up and cry. You can cry. You can cry as much as you want, but as soon as you finish fucking crying, you need to stand your ass up and keep moving forward. Learn from your mistakes. And that's what kind of like the journey from Bizarre Ride to Lab Cabin was, and you can hear it some in the music, you know what I mean? So that's kind of like the things that we were going through at the time. And there's still fun to be had, because we knew, like, when you get knocked down, you just get up, dust yourself off, and, let's keep it going. We got people to meet. We got things to do, venues to rock, it's still, the show must go on. And literally the show fucking must go on. That is something that it's almost like you tattoo it on your heart. Otherwise, you ever see people on the treadmill and they fall and the treadmill's going really fast. And
many clips on the internet. Yes, I've seen that.
So it will do that to you,
So you guys worked with Diamond D on this track. He produced it, which is sort of like that kind of seemed like a seminal thing too, because the first album was very much in-house. And then here was, he wasn't the only outside producer who worked on the second album. But how did you link up with Diamond D?
We linked up with Diamond D either through my folks, Richard Lewis, who linked us with Showbiz, because we went out there and we worked with Showbiz as well. And so that's, they're in the DITC camp, you know what I mean? So we were just kind of even cute. Like it could have been him, or it could have been Q-Tip. It was one of the two that linked us with Diamond. And, the rest was kind of history. Man, it was so, fun working with Diamond D. He's like a super big brother, man. He's about the hip hop. He's really raw about the hip hop, how things are made, how things are cut, what samples things are. How to make things right and the bounce. I just love being around those types of people that have like etiquette and the whole deal. It's not like you just can't come into the playground and play. This is, what I mean? And that's the type of mentality that there is, like dealing with or working with, Diamond D or Showbiz or whatever, or any of the folks on the East Coast. We had such mad respect for everybody, and we learned so much,
Song 2.
The second song here is from 2000, and it is from the Plain Rap album, and it is a song called Trust from the Pharcyde. Where was your head space at for the third album?
Oh my goodness. It was like so I would say Lab Cabin was like this little snowball that became an avalanche.
In what way?
What I mean by that is being like jaded by the music industry. You know what I mean? When it seems there's no one, impressed with the wrong impression about this rap shit is more than our profession. Like that is like kind of me like surveying everything and bringing it to the table, because we were going through a lot more harsh things, like in the sense of we do all this music and then we present it to the label and they're like, oh, I don't know, it's not ready, or this, that, and the other, or I don't think the fans will connect with that. And we're like, we're with the fans every day on tour. We know, we test things, we test things out. And it's like the artists that are on the road versus the label that's in the office. And we're just like, we're really in the streets, and, the little conflicts there. And then, there were situations where like distribution situations that were supposed to happen that fell through. And it's just like all this stuff. And it's just like, we get tired. We get tired of trying to prove who we are, prove what we can do. And it's like, we just need to make music. The artists should never have a head filled with all these things when we're making the actual music, because everybody wanted like a Bizarre Ride to the Pharcyde record again, but how in the hell can we get to that when our mind is so filled with all this, all the stuff that we're jaded by, and then trust, key word, trust. And when it seems there's no one to trust, you can always count on us, that is, and it encapsulates everything in that song pretty much,
Did you feel, since this was following Lab Cabin, did you feel like Lab Cabin wasn't given its fair shot do you think that like it wasn't given the support that you wanted from the label, or was it even post Lab Cabin that sort of was leading to that frustration that, you know, informed this song Trust?
Yeah, there's so many events, so many different things that were going on all simultaneously, you know what I mean? So it was definitely further down the line, because I think, the Plain Rap record is when we completely like kind of disband a little bit, you know what I mean? And it was only, Imani and Romai left in there. And I was doing my solo stuff with, my liberation stuff. So it was a lot of, getting tossed around to make us feel like, yo, is this ship gonna fly? What's the deal? What's up? I'm confused. And, we're going through a lot of growth periods. I always mention this little space and time in everybody's life called the Saturn return. And in the Saturn return areas, people go through like their hardest life lessons. And we were definitely going through those time periods of change and becoming something new and becoming something different. And I was submersed in that. And when you listen to Plain Rap, you can hear it. You can hear my lyrics are, more in depth, or like they're very like kind of like all inclusive on a spiritual level or whatever. And that's when I was going through my Phoenix stage in my life. And I would even like sign my autographs as Phoenix, you know what I mean? So the people that have that out there in the world, that's probably going to be a hot item, because that was the only time when I, kind of did that kind of situation. But it was all around. We were just trying to make good music and get it out. It was great music, all of it. We worked with everybody. Bobby Brown came to our crib. Ralph Tresvant came to our crib, was hanging out with us. That's how into it and how much music we have with folks working with us. And I remember when we were hanging with Bobby and Ralph, we were just talking about music life, and it is about music and just keeping it simple, keeping it real, and just like what life really means. Because you lose the meaning of what that is when you're jaded by all this stuff. So it was good to have like, our peers, hitting us up or coming through or just giving us some tokens that we needed to move forward, like little gold coins in this game,
Yeah. So, I mean, you were in a group, you grew in a group, you grew out of a group, you've done other groups. So if you get stopped, you're at the grocery store and you're doing some shopping now, and some young group approaches you, and they somehow in their minds have the actual foresight and perspective to ask, like, Tre, what is the key to finding harmony in a group? Like, we're all super tight and we've been doing this, we've been at it for a year. Like, that's a long time. Like, we've been at it for a year.
Yeah.
What do you say to them? Like, what are the key elements that you think are necessary to maintaining harmony in a creative space?
Well, I would say, because we talked to De La Soul, we talked to, Be Real from Cyprus. And, to me, it's important I know we're not together, but it's important for us to stay together for the sake of, the formula of what it took to make the Bizarre Rider, to make Pharcyde in general. That's the ingredients. When you go and, pull the cake mix off the shelf, it's got certain ingredients to make whatever type of cake that you're trying to bake. And if you're trying to bake a Pharcyde cake, it takes all of us to make it. When I say that, that means like, it's some parts in there that I might not like at all, but the combination of it makes this happen. And I need to, like, for me, it's like whatever problems and shit I'm going through, I need to put that outside the door when we're making music. It should be about making music and what that is. And we have to coexist. We have to learn to coexist, man. Everybody lives in a household with people. Let's say your brothers and sisters or whatever. Maybe y'all don't get along all the time, or maybe y'all hang out too much and y'all don't want to live together all the time. That shit happens. But when it comes to step into the stage or step into these records, we need to come together and leave our bullshit outside. And groups need to, it's not about you. It's about what you made and what makes this vehicle move forward. That's what it's about. It's about servicing the fans what they've always loved. And it's about, first off, don't fuck with anybody that you ain't friends with.
Right.
In the beginning, when you make the band, like, you should know shit like that at the beginning. So at the very beginning, if a certain mixture of people don't work for you, just, it's okay to be out. It's okay to be out. But when you jump in and you're committed to something and you've made like hit records and stuff like that, you should at least try to put your whatever your situation behind, put it to the side while you work out how can you work this out to make things happen, for the fans, for your children's future, for yourself, It's okay to not have an ego about this shit. It's okay to leave your ego out of this. It's okay. You know what I mean? Like everybody will have, it's so crazy, man. Like everybody goes through their own star shit mentally. Why they feel like they the one kind of shit.
Right.
And like, fuck if I don't want to give a fuck if I'm the one or not the one. What needs to happen is us coming together to make the music. There's a lot of listening that needs to happen. And here's what a lot of people do also. One good thing about Pharcyde when we were making records is we didn't have to be on every song. And once you understand, like let's say the Pharcyde, boom, there's the name. Inside of that name is all kind of flavors, all kind of different songs. There might be like a little package and a little toy inside for, special toy, like, oh shit, did you get that? And that's cool. But I don't have to be on everything to make Pharcyde. I could have a solo song in Pharcyde underneath that umbrella, right. Or Booty Brown could have a solo song, or Imani or Fat Lip, and it's okay. It's okay. Fuck, I don't want to. I think it's like I don't want to bore the crowd with just my voice all the time. Like let's spice it up. Fuck, man. It's just like having like a blackened salmon salad. Let it all roll. What's in it? Listen, when you eat it, when you take your bite, it's good. It's something. It has to be what you're making has to be something that tastes so good to you, and it's consistent that you want to go get it all the time. Like you can go eat other things and that's what I like about other groups too. Because you can go over there and fuck with them. But remember what our flavor was. I'm not even trying to force feed nobody. Because you should remember what the fuck our flavor was and be like, yo, I got a taste for this. I'm about to go over here real quick. Oh shit, we in that city? Yeah, let's go grab some of that Pharcyde shit. Oh, hell yeah. And that's the way you should feel and think about it. And the way we should care about baking the cake with the ingredients that we are, man, that should be paramount, bro. There should be absolutely nothing in the way of us coming together. Ooh, and with the knowledge that we have now since we've been separated, oh man, it could be something amazing.
I wasn't going to ask, but now you bring it up. Like, do you think that like the four of you form again, in the future? Or is that still kind of unknown or just straight up unlikely?
I'll just let you know where I stand. I'm open. Here's the deal, bro. Like you should never spend your life chasing after things. Just focus on who you are and what you do. You have to be the sun is my analogy. The sun, it just shines and the planets revolve around that shit. If I'm chasing after you and you ain't trying to shine on me, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck am I? So if I just start shining and doing what I'm supposed to do, they know what to, everybody knows what to do. And the gravitational pull will just pull it all together. So I'm not waiting. I'm just being. I'm open. I'm open. I'm ready. What's up? Send me music. Let's go. I don't want to get into no other shit about what's Pharcyde supposed to be. Let's just let's just gravitate. Let's get it. Let's go. What's up? And make what we're supposed to be making. What I think about is who's on the beats. Okay, we got LAJ, we got Jay Swift, we've been places. We've got so many other beat makers as well. That's super dope. It's about us coming together, moving together. You know what I mean? Like the gravitational pull us together. And because it's almost like the Milky Way and Andromeda. It's just like they became one. That's what we need to do. And then all this beautiful stuff will happen. And others like us will gravitate to us with the music that bounce and bump. And we just, with no filter, allow the music to come and come through us. And you just keep pressing it. You just keep making that shit. Let it hit the people. It'll do what it's supposed to do. As long as we being honest with ourselves. You know what I'm saying? This has nothing to do with people think I'm the Pharcyde or not the Pharcyde. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to be thinking about that shit for? I don't have time for that. We are older. This, like the sun is going to set on us completely at some point. You know what I'm saying? As our physicals, it's just what it is. So rather than think about any of that, man, I'm gonna dive into the juices of what's here right now. I'm ready and open for the mothership.
Song 3.
We're skipping all the way to 2016. It is from the Slimkid, Tre, and Newmark album, and the song is called King, featuring Diamond D and K Natural. Years later, you're in another group now with DJ Newmark. How did that sort of come to pass, and what is the chemistry like with you and Mark, and how did you guys sort of cultivate that?
So, I mean, like we've always, been hanging out or, in passing and stuff like that. And I think when I was in Ozo Motley and we were on tour, we could have been in Australia, not even sure, but we were always like in passing, you know what I mean? And so in passing, Newmark is like, yo, Slim, I got some stuff, we should, want to check your thoughts about it. And, I was like, all right, cool. So more time passed. And along that time, he was like kind of putting away beats. And my manager at the time, Kyle Mortensen, he was like kind of piecing it all together. He was like linking up with Newmark's personal manager. And eventually we just came together and started, kind of going through the songs. And I had K Nat from my Bizarre Ride team, with me. And I was like, yo, Nat, you got to get on this shit, this, that, and the other. And kind of like the rest is history too. You know what I mean? And by the way, you need to hear the Trop Killers remix of that song too.
Oh, I don't think I've heard that.
You didn't know?
No.
Google that. Trop Killers is fire with Diamond D's verse on it too. Newmark's really meticulous about stuff, you know what I mean? Especially when it comes to his beats and stuff like that. So, I wanted him to finally express himself beat-wise or production-wise like he wants. You know what I mean? So I was like kind of more of a paintbrush to him, like kind of painting. You know what I mean? And I was cool with that. You know what I'm saying? But I was definitely digging in as well. But, at the end of the day, like I just know how he is as a DJ and how like his Zodiacs is just on point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when he's like kind of like putting all this stuff together, like he's constantly thinking, and he'll cut right in the middle of your verse and be like, yo, T, can you just take that part out and put a different thing in there? And I'm like, what? The lyrics was fire. You want me to cut in the motherfucking middle?
Right.
And then I was just like, all right, cool. And so I go out into the backyard and I was just rewriting, getting the part in the cadence of how he was saying it, and then come back and then put it in, because in his head, there's certain things that toggle the rhythm, like just like he's thinking of as like in a DJ's perspective, because I think that way as well. I think of like textures. What texture is going to pull the crowd and move the crowd, or what cadence is going to like keep your focus. The greatest thing about me working with Newmark in that sense is getting out of my ego and my head about what I wrote and why it should be like rose petals instead of like, can you just take this piece of shit out and put this other part in?
Being produced.
It's being produced. And also it's like, and it was different ways working with him than it was working with like, my Pharcyde team or LAJ, who I always work with too. And LAJ kind of, he gets on me as well about making stuff is in pocket. His thing is about being in pocket. LAJ is like, you got to be in pocket. It's got to, it has to sit. And I'm thinking like I'm in pocket, I'm going. But sometimes I'm so into the zone of, when I'm pulling the spirit energy to match the words that it's such a different way of thinking to how to bring these words alive and bring everything alive. But as you're doing that, sometimes you don't realize where you are on the beat. And it was still different from how I worked with Newmark. All was good. All was definitely good on both sides, And also, I worked. I mentioned my homie Venus Brown too, because working with him is a different. There are three. So I'm just named three different people with three different feelings, relaxed ways of working. And working with Newmark it's more. You got to focus on what's going on. And being in the headspace of where he's at in a meticulous way for certain cadences or whatever, you know what I mean? But he gets you where he needs to go, and that shit's gonna bounce, it's gonna move right. So
Song 4.
This is going back to 2002. It's from your Liberation album, and the song is called Life is Love, and featuring India Davenport.
I love my Liberation album, man. There was just so much, I was free, pretty much. That song, there was a lot to that song in particular, because it's like I'm kind of singing about my spiritual shift and change in my life, and you know what I mean? That side of it, not being afraid to sing. I'm not the greatest singer at all. I feel like I'm a shower singer with a bottle of tequila, you know what I'm saying? And that's fine with me now in my life, you know what I mean? But there was a point singing wise, like there was always this little resistance in your head, because I wasn't Michael Jackson. I wasn't like any of those different folks. And you got to get out of that headspace and get into who you are, and just croon how the spirit is crooning with you. And that situation was me, like actually actually singing, because that's just where I was at. And you got to get out of the headspace of what the rap world thinks of you, especially back then.
Yeah.
Singing. Like, yo, you ain't no singer. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm like, you're right. However, this is how I feel. So I'm an emoter. You know what I mean? Just let my emotions ride. And that one, there was a lot of message in that song, as well as a lot of message in the Liberation album in itself. You know what I mean? And it was during my Phoenix stage of my life, around my Saturn return. And this is what was coming out. And I love that song. And I'm glad India Davenport got on that with me too, because she's one of my favorite singers, man. And she's a powerhouse of soul. And I've always wanted to continue to work with her somehow. And that was a route. That was a way.
Yeah, it's definitely a highlight, I would say, on an album that is extremely musical and doesn't really feel tethered to one idea, you know, like talking about feeling the constraints of or the restraints of like hip hop, and like this is what it's supposed to sound like. You went and you made just a very musical ass album.
Right.
No way around it.
And I wouldn't have been able to make it with Pharcyde. They love what I do, man. But it's like, they might not have been able to relate with what I'm saying or what I'm doing or whatever, or, you know, maybe question why or add resistance and all that stuff. And it's like, no. This is, it had to be birthed. It had to be done. And that's what that was. It's expression. And I wouldn't block anyone from expressing themselves on what they're doing. Like Imani has a record now that he's phantasmagorical. And I love seeing him be him and his headspace and where he's taking you on his journey. And, you know, where he's rapping and then he cuts off right here and it does a different thing. And then he jumps back in and, you know, and I remember watching Imani write, and I would see like his notebook with fragments of phrases everywhere. And you read some of them and it's like, shit, that's fucking deep as fuck. You know what I mean? And you look at another one, it's like, wow, damn. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna connect this one with that one over here and with that with this. And I'm like, yo. And I appreciate that. I appreciate Fat Lips, the Loneliest Punk album.
Yep.
Lots of parts. I appreciate Fat Lips' older stuff that nobody knows, you know, that he did as Jammer D. There was a song called Woman that was super dope that he did back in the day before. Like that should have been on the Pharcyde record. There's a lot of things that we could have, you know, fused together. And it was just cool to hear that. And those spaces needed their space. The Loneliest Punk album needed its space. Liberation needed its space. Imani's album needed its space. And when we come back together to do a Pharcyde thing, it needs its space. It needs to be unfiltered. We need to just walk in blank. We need to walk in like nobody hit nobody. Nobody said nothing to nobody. Nobody threatened nobody. No, you know what I'm saying? Like be present, because the Pharcyde energy itself is a spirit, and it calls for us all the time. It don't matter how much we've been arguing with each other, or this thing happened or that thing happened. It shows its presence, and we're just supposed to arrive. That shit is important to understand. It's you know, I can see it as I say it. I can see it as I say it, you know?
Do you feel like you were saying that on Liberation and in these songs, like you sort of were going through your Phoenix era, your Phoenix chapter? It seems like you were going through like spiritual changes and like or greater understandings of spirituality. So how was your spirituality changing by like the time you were doing your first album? Because look, you're Slimkid3. Like you always have this like Zen quality about you. Like you're sort of like above the clouds, you know, like the melodies and things like that. But particularly when I was listening to this song, it's like it really felt like self-discovery and introspection that you're hearing on a record, you know? So I'm curious, you know, and needing your own space, like, hey, I need to do this on my own, because if you're trying to represent a spiritual like outlook on something, how can you be like, yeah, the four of us are all going to share our singular spiritual outlook? Like that doesn't work. So I'm curious what your spiritual journey was, what was leading you there around this time.
Man, you know, it's a lot of things, you know, growing up in a Baptist church and then having, you know, a lot of disagreements with what I felt like that was or is or whatever. And then I was like, that can't be like this or that can't be right. It just, some of the things just didn't add up to me. And those were parts of my journey as things that have been placed on me. Like when you're a kid, man, you're just raw, you know what I'm saying? And then you get taught all these things, all these fears and all this different shit. And now you're carrying all this weight. And so I think coming up to the time of liberation, or even before that, let's say, I would say it all started with Soulflower when I was recording that. And we were all smoking weed that night and probably every other night. But this particular time, you know, I was doing my rap and I was high and I had a moment where I was like, man, my vocals are going to be on this 2-inch reel and on records forever. And ever and ever. And then, you know, like the weed was just like, and forever. And you just start thinking about what the hell that is beyond you. And I was like, you know, if I died, like this shit don't, like my voice don't vanish. You know what I'm saying? Like, or and then another one was, you know, watching the Passing Me Vibe video and looking at my image on there. And I was like, damn, and if we die, like these images don't just fade away. You know what I mean? So these were little fragments of, you know, me stepping into like thinking about things on that spiritual plane and understanding what those things were. And then, you know, of course, when shrooms came into the game, into the fold, that was just more of an opening and understanding of what we are, just, you know, what we are, like this skin, this, you know, this breathing, this, and just diving deep in that. And I remember reading the book, Conversation with God. I read book 2 before I read book 1, and I started in the middle of book 2 and then bounced back. I just did it in a fragmented way. And then I wound up reading every book that dude ever wrote. It helping me to understand spiritually what I am and what I am not. What I am not is what I understood.
Right, because you're given all these assignments early on. It's like, oh, hey, you're born. Guess what? You're Baptist, and like this is how you have to act. Like,
yeah,
it's like, wait, like hold on, like, can I figure it out?
Where have I been me during all the? It's like you know, like you're on you come in. You ever see the cartoon when they have they're traveled around the world and they have this suitcase with all these stamps on them?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we are as people, and so to take all those stamps off. And to just sit still and like allow what you are to shine on you or rain on you, or you to shine what you are, you know, it was interesting. And I feel like at this age now, I even understand it a little bit more, and I don't judge it as much too, because sometimes you can be on your spiritual thing and you be like too high and mighty for everybody, but that's not the point.
That can just be the arrogance, or not necessarily arrogance, but like this information, you're so fresh to it that you're being presented with this, and now you're not even, you don't know how to wield this thing, and you're wielding it as a weapon, and it's not meant to be a weapon.
Right?
It's meant to be a connector and not a divider.
Yeah. So I remember like Imani telling me, he's like, not everybody wants to be preached to, and I understood that, and that's why I kind of, you know, and my sister told me too. She's like, you know, you got to give a little sugar with the medicine. And I understood that. And once I did that, so the Liberation album is probably the only one that you'll ever get from me, you know? But other albums is going to be like a lot of fuckery and just debauchery and fun and a little bit of spiritual stuff within it. I want to be in a space where I'm not judging nobody about nothing that they're doing, as long as they're not hurting others, you know, rock your boat, you know, do your thing. I'm into a lot of things, you know. I laugh because I think you're supposed to just enjoy life and laugh and not fuck people up. You know what I'm saying?
I think it says that in some book somewhere.
Song 5.
The next song is in 2019. It's from the Trademark EP, and it is called Pick It Up, featuring Dillon Cooper. So let's hear a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely a sound that was very different to my ears when I first heard it. I was like, oh, this is a whole new sound, a whole new chapter.
I enjoy it so much. I want people to feel the synergy that we felt when we made it. And that is so real. And it's this album, the Trademark album, is different from the first album that I did with DJ Newmark. I love this one a whole lot better. And I love the last one. But this one is like fire to me. This album is like so much fire to me, man. And then working with Austin and Antoine on it as well. And Austin is like just an open vessel to let, like all those things I was trying to describe what Pharcyde needs to be to get back to being able to make another Bizarre Ride if they needed to. That's where Austin is that's where he's at 100% of the time. He comes in just open, listening to the beats. And we were all just open.
He's younger. I'm assuming he's
younger.
Austin
Antoine is younger. I worked with him through LAJ, who had a song called Double Life that's on YouTube. It was almost like another Other Fish kind of style song. You know, like LAJ was like, yo, I think I want you to get on this song with Austin Antoine, this guy I'm working with. I think it'll be a good match. And I listened to it and I was like, oh yeah, I'm all on this. You know what I mean? So if you guys gotta Google it and find it, check it out on YouTube, man. It's a super dope song, man. And so that was a start. And so I played that song first I was like, yo, Newmark, I got this guy, Austin Antoine. I want you to, you know, maybe we can bring him into the fold or whatever. And he's like, oh, you know, T, I don't know. And then I played him that song, you know, Double Life. And he's like, oh yeah, where's he at? And so we got him in the building and it was history. He was just like perfect for the Trademark team. Like he is a band member of Trademark.
It feels like such a modern song too. It doesn't feel, you know, a lot of times when people get together and, you know, they might have been music and their seminal work was from the 90s. It doesn't feel like you guys are trying on like clothes that like you look stupid in. You know what I mean? Like sometimes when people do that, like this feels very modern, but it also doesn't feel like super far out of the reach of you and Mark, you know?
You know, one part of that is it's good and healthy to have a combination of folks. Like we got Dillon Cooper, who is a friend of K-Nat's. He's a friend of ours too, but K-Nat brought him on board for this. He's like one of probably the youngest of us all, and Austin Antoine, and then there's me. So it's like a lot of different. There's middle school meets new school kind of situation, and I feel like when you're all in the same arena, you don't think about your rap styles at all. You're just kind of just going in and creating this synergy. We're just really flowing off the synergy, and the synergy is creating this record. And it was really healthy because it brings, you know, everything to a future point, a present time, just the energy itself and what all the parts are.
Song 6.
Last song is from 1992, Taking It Back, from the Bizarre Ride to the Pharcyde album, and the song is called For Better or For Worse. I mean, what could I even say? What could I even say to set this up? Like, you talked earlier about your voice being preserved on something forever, and you were a part of a group that still means so much to so many people. Like, do you ever go back and listen to like your own stuff?
Yeah, you know, I don't go back and listen to our old stuff, but yeah, because we're touring it all the time. So I you know, I'm on stage with it all the time. So I'm like, I ain't trying to hear this shit right now. But, you know, when I do go back to listen to it, I will listen from the start to finish because the beginning of the album to the end, because that's the way you hear the humor of it all, and you hear how that journey. It's a good one. It's a great one, and For Better For Worse was definitely one of those songs that it had a lot of color to it. We were happy. We didn't give a fuck. We were like we had no filter. We were just doing shit and laughing.
It truly is amazing. Being an artist, you sort of create these time capsules of where you're at a very certain specific part of your life. And so to have that, like, it totally makes sense to everything that we've talked about, because we've gone through these other songs and you talk about the hardships and the lessons learned in the industry, and you see that happening too. And then you see, like, in the solo stuff, sort of washing yourself of that and like the enlightenment. But that is so dope that, and just like kismet, I guess you could say, that like 4 people met each other at a very young age and had this creative spark and made something that is not only just so pure, but also was like mad successful too. You know what I mean? Like
that was a blessing.
Do you ever just think about that? Like was this like destiny? Like, do you believe in like destiny or things like that?
It was meant to be. Absolutely. It was meant to be. And it's because of, even before the Pharcyde, it's like we used to be battle dancers and also musicians recording, There was a group called GTI in our circle at SU. And there's a group called Shy, and we all like kind of lived together day in, day out, making music, perfecting our craft and everything, and just rising through each level as the universe first off, the universe kind of touched us in a way, because this was what we wanted to do. This is who we were. This is who we are. Like, even as like me doing choreography, I used to do well, we all did. But doing choreography for, the Jazzy Fat Nasties back in the day, it was just a focus, or writing songs for female artists, something I do as well. It was who we were. And along this journey on this, I'm not even gonna say it's like we were rising up. We were just going. We were on the path. And and as we were on the path, like different, we grew, we learned, and these hardships only created songs. These good times only created songs, and this is who we are, and it's who we're supposed to be. Like, I know for sure, because like I wake up out of the middle of my sleep with melodies in my head, and we all probably do. We all, like, there'll never be a time where you're not seeing one of us immersed in music in some way, making beats, listening to old jazz music, or listening to current music, or listening to what's out, or, you know what I mean? We're just fully immersed in it, or DJing. I DJ, LAJ DJs, Fat Lip DJs. We've never left our area of sharpening our tools. So yeah, we were born to do it. And man, like, even in school, when I couldn't pay attention in fucking school and taking a test, my head drifts off into music and beats and shit, and I can't even get and going against the clock, And you would think you were fucking dumb and shit, because you trying to race this clock and you're smarts of what things are, and you got like music in your head at the same time because you can't focus. But when you found out what your focus was, you found out what your genius was, you're unstoppable. My God, I'm unstoppable. When it comes to like projects, I'm there. When it comes to like shows, I'm there 100%. When it comes to a day job, I'm like, that's not for me. Like, even in my own house, my girl's like, can we, we need to fix this and we need to fix that. And I'm like, I'm not a carpenter. I am not a plumber. I am a musician. I will pay motherfuckers to come fix shit, and I'm going to be making music.
I'm a musician as well, and I always say I am very good at a few specific things and pretty bad at a lot of other stuff. But like, you got to play to your strengths. You got to play to your strengths,
and it's okay. Like, for me, I don't want to fuck shit up. I love cooking. I'm a really good cook. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna dive into that. I know, like, that's my genius. Music is my genius. There's a few things that are my genius, and the things that aren't my genius, they're like, get that fucking guy out of here. He's fucking shit up. Who let Tre in?
Big thanks once again go out to Tre for appearing on the show. Be sure that you stay up to date with all things Pharcyde related by following him. I'll put a link to his socials. And yeah, big shout out to The Questions Patreon. Once again, go to patreon.com/thequestionshiphop to become a member and get all sorts of bonus goodies. Shout out to the Stony Island Audio Podcast Network, Midas the Beast and Czarism for making the show's theme, Rob Van Franken for editing the show, and I will be back next week with another episode of the Questions Hip Hop Podcast.
Stony Island Audio.